So hi guys, I'm Tech Beast aka Vatsul. Today I have Mr. Varun with me, who is an Amazon's employee and my mentor as well, as I'm also an Amazonian now.
Hi, as Vatsal said, I am a Amazon employee. I've been here around a year, and we're colleagues working in the same team, but also same sub teams. So not collaborating exactly on the same projects, but there is a bit of overlap on general.
And he's here for like a year now.
Yeah, a little over a year.
I think he has got a lot about how Amazon works, so he might be able to know that how Amazon really is.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot, but I'll try.
Speaking about our first question, as being an Amazon employee, how much improvement have you seen yourself as a person and speaking in technical ways?
Yeah, I think technically, you have to adjust to a big organization. So the main thing for me was about delivering software in a fast and reliable way.
Yeah.
So I was not unacquainted with things like continuous integration or deployment, but I not only saw the need to do it, but it also made me much more inclined to learn it. So
Yeah.
I not only, fortunately at Amazon, there are a lot of, internal tools to help with it, but I think technically also it went all the way from building the projects to also how I code in a way that I try to develop things so that they not only work now, but will probably in the future as well.
And that somehow makes sense, right? Because when you are in such a big enterprise, so you know that decisions should be, valuable to the how we are, working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also with more people, you also think about how a solution should scale, whether it's one person or an entire organization, or in some cases, maybe even the entire company who uses it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think also how it influences your decisions and how deep it can go into not only how you, as I said, design the projects, but also you think about things such as, is the way you want to do it the best way to do it, and whether you're trying to be, your projects are more complex because they have to or because you want them to be.
And that just, justifies it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your education up till now?
I did my bachelor's in the US, so I did computer engineering at the University of Illinois, and that's a mix of computer science and electrical engineering. Then I did my master's in data engineering and analytics in Munich, so Technical University of Munich. And same idea. It's basically, doing a regular computer science degree, but a little bit of guidance on the data side. So I went more in the data analytics or science section.
Yeah.
And then when I started working, I got more into engineering, and that's how I guess I got into data engineering as it is.
Were there any projects that you worked on during your bachelor's which kind of helped you in your master's as well?
Yeah, I'd say that there was one class that I think in particular that was one of the more formative ones. It was in particular I think anybody who studied at Illinois knows about this class, but even if you weren't in the same department, but it was a operating systems course where the idea of course was, in the engineering was to learn by building things. So the main project of that was to kind of develop a basic Unix-like operating system from scratch.
Yeah.
So of course, operating systems are the basic functionalities, handling input and, executing tasks or programs.
Yeah.
So, but it can range from anything to, what we see nowadays. But the main thing was that the assignments were to handle, inputs such as keyboard or mouse inputs, but also deal with system calls or scheduling, which are all, the bare minimum of an operating system. But it was also such a difficult course in that there was barely any instruction given. The idea was to kind of simulate a work environment where you don't get much information, and it's your responsibility to ask the proper questions and then go about it in the proper way. Because you have a vague idea of what you want to do, and it's your responsibility to figure out what the best way of doing that is. Whether you consult open source material or, I guess, collaborate with your teammates or other people solving different things. I think it was a very good way of, transitioning you to the kind of work you're going to be doing in the industry.
I think that kind of justifies the answer.
Mm-hmm.
What's the good part today that you love about your role?
I think that it's very easy at Amazon to get a lot of different projects, but I think that what I enjoy is there's a big emphasis on having the ability to work on what you want to work on, and it's to the point where not only do you have that right, but you're encouraged to voice it.
Yeah.
So I think that I remember I was talking to a manager once, and he had told me that basically that you can be successful kind of pursuing whichever niche you want. So even as a data engineer, there's of course different ways of contributing.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be someone who is more into solution architecture, or in some cases, if you're even satisfied taking a predefined logic and just converting it into a product. So of course, there are some decisions you make that are not just what you enjoy doing, but what you want out of your career. But it's a big enough organization where you can find those opportunities, whether in your team or another team. And I think that the company as itself makes it easy for you to pursue what you want.
Yeah, makes sense. Would you call yourself as the studious guy, or the guy enjoy others part of life as well as being good at studies?
I would say that I am not as studious as I should be. I think there are much better students out there, and I think there's always a lot I could have learned from them. I was somebody who kind of enjoyed doing a lot of things, so
Yeah.
I like to also have hobbies outside of work, and also I enjoyed having it during my university. But I think it also really contributes to your quality of life.
So what hobbies were you into mostly, if I speak about from your bachelor's?
In bachelor's, it's pretty easy to kind of experiment with different extracurriculars.
Yeah.
So I tried a bit of, I did a bit of martial arts and some boxing. And I always kind of was trying to make time for exercise one way or another. I think that was very good for my mental health.
Mm.
But other than that, I also like reading about random things. And the list goes on. Those are, I think, the hobbies that I still retain today.
That is what, kind of helps you after life of work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I wouldn't say not only important, but it's necessary for everybody to find something to do outside of work that you can at least do regularly and look forward to.
Exactly. It's just kind of, every time, work kind of doesn't, helps you maintain your work-life balance.
Yeah, and not only that, I think it's also that when you're, at least I can only speak for my position, but when I'm in a position where a lot of my work is trying to solve problems, that sometimes there's a way to do it where maybe the solution is done before. Usually it is like that, but there's a bit of, creativity as well, where you have to take maybe an existing solution and kind of tailor it to the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you maybe need to spend a lot of hours working because you have to get something done, but often that having a bit of a break from work where you're able to get your mind off of it, it not only helps you from getting burnt out, but it also helps in the actual work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think there should be also something that a man should have in terms of speaking of hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on to the next question. You're the coding guy that everybody knows you as. So what is something that you would suggest who is going to join Amazon or who wants to join Amazon? And maybe, you could give some tips in terms of how you can develop on the good coding skills.
Yeah, I'd say I think I'll handle it both ways. I think when you join Amazon, this was advice that was given to me that I didn't fully follow, but I wish I had really followed it more, is just to ask as many questions as you can to anybody, and especially if you need help, or you're dealing with a problem, is that I think it is a good idea to ask other people in your team or whoever you can, because there's always a way you can, approach a problem. Sometimes people have their different ways of working. And of course, there's this idea that you maybe feel a little awkward that you might be disturbing people, but I think that we're at Amazon, it's kind of hard to get by, doing everything on your own because there's so much going on, and you're joining a pretty big company that is already in some way, that's already established. So it's hard for you to do everything on your own without asking people how things work.
Yeah.
but not only asking on that, but also sometimes people have solved a similar problem and that can save you a lot of time. And you'd be surprised, I think, how willing some people are to help you out because they've been in the same situation.
That makes sense.
And about coding, I'd say that it's okay if it's hard in the beginning. I think almost everybody finds it hard. I remember that it took me around 4 years from going to feel a little bit comfortable. And I think right now I can say it's coming up around almost 10 years of experience, including, because I had a bit in high school as well.
Yeah.
And I still consider myself a fairly average coder. But at the same time, the good thing is that there's a lot of resources available for you, and you will get better just by sticking with it and being acquainted also with different kinds of projects and what other people are doing.
And for like anyone who wants to, develop more on for this coding skills in general speaking, not in relation to joining Amazon.
Yeah.
So would you like to give some suggestions to them also?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same suggestions really, is just to keep with it and just keep practicing and don't worry that if it's hard, because you can find a lot of people to mentor you and help you through it, but eventually things start to make a little more sense. But the thing is, coding is not something that anyone's born with. Maybe if you have a bit of a mathematical background, it might come a little easier in the beginning because it's a very logical field, and computer science is a mathematical field. Yeah, exactly. So some of that might come easy, but again, you're building a foundation that is going to be hard in the beginning. So yeah, just stick with it.
Speaking about coding, you know that everybody today is kind of acquainted with ChatGPT. But before it kind of arose, were you using some AI tools to help yourself?
I was not too up to date with these AI assistants before. I use ChatGPT pretty regularly now. And I think it was because it happened right around the craze of when the subscriber count skyrocketed. But I remember I heard so much about it, and I thought that at the end of the day, it's just kind of a tool. Of course, it's just like using Google, or as every developer knows, that when you use Stack Overflow, you sometimes get the answers might work and they might not. But yeah, I see ChatGPT as kind of a similar thing, that you can just use it as a tool. It may not help you, but it can at least give you a more targeted response to whatever you're asking.
Speaking from my own experience, I can justify when, like for nits and bits, when you want this assistance with some of the part of the code where you might want to understand it more better, or maybe get a more better idea of implementing this.
Yeah.
So I think that is where it kind of helps you.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the a good way to implement something.
Yeah, I think it's seeing it as an assistant that can help with some things, because the idea is that you can look at a piece of code and of course understand it yourself. But if you use ChatGPT, it might just speed it up. Yeah. And it's the same idea that, just like having an assistant in real life would be, is that you can delegate more of your work to something else, and that's whether that assistant is an actual person or an AI tool. Moving
to, we would like to talk about how the industry is functioning now, and how do you feel about those ideas? So I might presume that you might be familiar with Industry 5.0.
Yeah, a little bit.
So what do you think about it, and where do you see it going in, let's say, in the next 5 years?
I think it's pretty cool to see at least how the AI trend has gone. And I've heard about people using it to accelerate a lot of very lengthy processes, especially drug discovery.
Yeah.
And so I think in the near future, next decade or so, we're going to see it being integrated into a lot of different industries. And you can also see that the barrier of using tech tools has kind of gone down to the point where Python has been really cool in that it has made scientists, it has kind of made scientific computing a lot more accessible, because instead of having to learn programming itself, Python's pretty learnable, and so research or scientists can take a class and then use it for their use case. Maybe they won't be able to build a mobile app, but they can still make use of, some very advanced computing techniques. So I'm excited to see that. I think also it'll be that digitalization is going to pervade our life even more. I think as we've seen with cloud computing, it's really cool when we don't necessarily need to worry about syncing our files across devices or even accounts. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be more of that, but then of course concerns about privacy as well as data surveillance are always going to be on the horizon.
As in, like, the amount of data increases every day, you need to even protect it more.
Yeah, I think what's also interesting is that data is expanding exponentially. And that's why, there's always an effort of not only processing and storing data, but also, how best to use it, because we're getting data in hundreds of different millions of ways. And in some ways it is one of the most valuable commodities because it's one of the few objective metrics we have about ourselves. So, but what's interesting is that when we have so much data, we'll eventually reach a saturation point where we don't necessarily even have the means of storing it because there's just so much of it. So I'm wondering when that point will come and how we will deal with it, because it's definitely on the minds of a lot of people.
I think like blockchain could be one solution where you could, help with this a large volume of data storage in terms of, decentralizing a lot of places.
The decentralization aspect of the blockchain is really cool, and I think that around the time Bitcoin was getting really popular and maybe the cryptocurrency hype or whatever you call it was also people latching onto this decentralization blockchain technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot. The technology itself is pretty interesting. It's really cool how it's kind of its own entity, kind of like how AI, like you build it and then let it kind of develop and function on its own. So yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to see if other applications or other industries embrace this blockchain technology.
I think you could anyways kind of consider as an additional security measure, if not for the most confidential data that you have within enterprises, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested also in the theory behind it. So I think they call it zero knowledge proofs or whatever, or
the proof of stack and everything.
Like proof of work, exactly. And I mean, there are also some cool papers that also talk about the feasibility of it or why it might work, and things like also taking into account some concepts such as eventual consistency.
We'll move to one fun activity.
Okay.
So that's called What's on Your Phone.
What's on my phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing too very personal about it, but general, what do you use the most and what is like you like to do more on your phone, and how much do you find time to do things on it. So like, other than social media, what is the most used application that you would do on your phone?
Yeah, well, I don't really have this much. Well, I have it on my phone, but I don't really use it on my phone. But I really like OneNote. I use that more to, consolidate some thoughts I have. Or the idea is, of course, is that I like to think that I'll remember things, but I don't. So I think it's cool to have a note of it. I'm not very good at organization. It doesn't come that naturally to me. So that's something I'm trying to work on. But I like OneNote because, as I said, it syncs automatically in the cloud, and I don't have to worry about backing things up. It's just kind of like a new age notebook, and I think that a lot of people from the past, people like even Da Vinci, used to write everything down.
Yeah.
I think that he would be amazed with this kind of technology.
Yeah, I mean, OneNote is something that you can access on the go.
Yeah,
it might be not be for your phone.
If you have enough data. I sometimes have that issue.
Yeah, exactly. I think like you can categorize a lot of things over there and much efficiently. So yeah, even like, for example, even I use some note-taking applications.
Oh yeah, which ones?
So one was, I think, GoodNotes that I use these days is for just noting down things
Yeah.
on using. It has a good support for Apple Pencil, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea of using, I would say, GoodNotes.
Yeah.
But yeah, parallelly, OneNote is also good at its own place.
Yeah, exactly. I think yeah, I mean, I'm pretty impressed also with Microsoft's technology because well, they've developed a lot of products, but even smaller things or like things that people use every day, like the snipping tool, it's all really cool how seamlessly it works.
Yeah, exactly. So I think everything has its own fallbacks,
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on, like we did talk about your productivity in terms of OneNote. Is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Like in terms of productivity or
productivity, as in like you did mention about you do note taking and all of that. Is there any kind of Word document or something you use for?
Yeah, I mean, currently I still even do all my scheduling in OneNote itself, but I've heard people talk about Notion. I haven't really used it, but I like the idea of, I think it's a similar idea of keeping your tasks and your notes in one place. So currently I think OneNote is designed to be a notebook, but Notion is kind of gives a better interface when it comes to tasks.
That's true.
I'm thinking about trying it out, but again, I'm still new to it. But there are people who swear by it and organize their entire life in that sense. So I think, I think that my only apprehension is that I've been using OneNote for a bit, so I don't want to, use too many tools because then
it kind of becomes a mess. Managing them.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Any game that you like to play on your phone?
I don't really game on my phone, but I like console games.
Did you ever try like PUBG or something?
Which one?
PUBG, players on the battleground, something like that.
I think the only mobile game I played was Robot Unicorn Attack. That was a high school game.
Okay.
It was how do I describe it? But basically, it's one of those games where I don't know, the dinosaur game on Chrome. Like you play, it's that loosely like that. And then there's some background music. It's kind of fun. But I just remember that I had some friends back in high school who played it, and of course when your friends play it, you want to play it as well. And it's
Have you ever heard about Mini Militia?
Mini Militia?
Yeah. No. It was like an kind of a local Wi-Fi game that you used to play. I think it was kind of a sensation sometime back, where you would kind of just connect with people around in your local region and you would play games on that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I had one roommate who played Clash of Clans.
Clash of Clans. That's something, you would play with people around the globe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but it's more like, just playing with people around you and, poking them every time.
Oh, okay.
So, that's pretty fun. Speaking about fun, is it like, do you listen to songs on your phone?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And any particular music streaming app that you use?
Yeah, it's Spotify. I mean, but I mean, I like Spotify. It's again, it's one of those apps where I started there and then I just continued. But I mean, Spotify is, I think, one of those where I find the premium subscription worth it because I can personal ads and also I can download music. But also I find the podcasts also cool.
Cool, yeah. Even I do listen to a lot of them. I would say, like there was something related to economist ideas.
Oh yeah.
That I was hearing to recently. So it kind of, those talks kind of sets a new perspective for yourself, which I think is.
Yeah, I think there are just a few podcasts that I can really keep up. I mean, I find some episodes and download them and listen to them at times, but I'm not somebody who listens to podcasts all the time. but it's a nice break also because you don't always want to be listening to music.
Do you ever had experience with some kind of celebrity that you met who you like to listen to?
Like a celebrity,
Yeah.
as in like an artist, or
Yeah.
I don't know if I've met an artist celebrity, but I mean, I met a couple. I met an athlete celebrity. Does that count?
Okay. I mean, close to it, but
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was in high school, I think, and I met this one American football player who was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. His name was Joe Montana. I don't know how many people would know that, but it was it was one of the first times I was starstruck. But I guess it's actually funny that I bring up this story because the place that I met him was the same place that Wayne Gretzky and Will Smith were there.
Seriously?
Yeah, because it was basically their kids were all on the same American football high school team,
Yeah.
and they were playing a local high school who was also really good. So this was a huge game, even though it's a high school game, which might be a little silly that so much hype for a high school game. But yeah, Will Smith's eldest son, I think, was playing, and Wayne Gretzky's son, and then Joe Montana's son. They were all on the same team playing at the same time.
Okay.
So you can imagine in this town in the Seattle area that people don't even really know much about, but you have these two amazing athletes and one movie star, like an A-list actor, all like at the same place. It was pretty insane. Of course, we tried to meet Will Smith, but we couldn't. But yeah, I mean, Joe Montana was cool.
Yeah. Any binge watching app do you use?
And like an app.
Yeah.
Since Max added reality TV shows, been watching a bit of that. So it was HBO Max, now it's Max.
Yeah.
And that's fun as well. I also like YouTube TV because I can't really watch it here, unfortunately. But in general, they make it very easy to watch sports events.
Yeah.
And you can record it and then watch it later. So if you happen to miss the game, and especially with American football games, which last forever, you can just fast forward through the commercials.
Yeah, that is, I think, pretty handy, I would say, because you want to always catch the good things first.
Yeah, I mean, the only time to watch is the commercials of the Super Bowl because those are the famous commercials.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What type of commercials are there?
No, it's just that it's super expensive to run an ad during the Super Bowl because they have so many viewers. So
Okay.
because of that, I don't know if it's there. I think it's that usually you would think that those ads are going to be better. I don't know if it's because of that or it's a coincidence, but sometimes you get some pretty funny ads. So there are even people who do the opposite, where they record the game, fast forward through the game, and just watch the commercials. So
any feature that you like on your phone, in particular, like it could be camera application even.
But I think I find the do not disturb part to be very handy.
Yeah.
And you would think that, I don't know, it's not really different from airplane mode and things like that, but it's kind of fun that you can just turn it on and then it's you still have your phone functioning in the same way, but you don't get notified every time. And with everything on your phone, there's always going to be some alert coming, and of course nothing urgent, but then they kind of distract you. So I really have been using that one a lot.
That's nice. We moved to the final part of the activity.
Okay.
That's rapid fire questions.
Oh geez, okay.
Yeah, it would be just one word answers.
Okay.
So just quickly answers, and I think we would be done with this tech talk. So how many languages do you speak?
I speak 2 moderate, including English, 2 moderately well, 2 badly.
One word answers, man.
Okay. Let's go with 3.
Yeah. So programming languages that you prefer the most?
C actually.
You go to your go-to shortcut every time that you use on your computer?
Vim.
Vim? Cool. Windows or Mac?
Mac.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Your favorite IDE?
VS Code.
Your favorite feature in a car?
In the car, navigation.
Electric or gasoline car?
Electric,
Your favorite sport?
American football,
Your favorite computer accessory?
Bluetooth,
Okay. Your favorite dream destination?
Mongolia.
Oh, that's nice. So I think that's good for this tech talk. It was really nice to have you, Varun.
Yeah, thanks for having me as well.
So do you want to give any comments to someone, or do you have any afterthoughts?
I just say that, in terms of work or whatever you pursue, just stick with it, but also make time to enjoy it. And everything can be enjoyed. So have a schedule and work towards it, but also make time for fun as well.
Yeah. Good to have you, Varun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.